Joining me now to break down the numbers from this first speaker vote is our numbers guru, Steve Kornacki, who's at the big board. And Steve, as Sahil and I were just discussing, a whole lot of opposition to Jim Jordan came out of the woodwork for this vote here. Where and how did he come up short?
Yeah, a couple different places, and like you guys were just saying, I think the number there of 20 was just more than folks were expecting, and part of that was just the expectation setting on the part of the Jordan folks who were out there pushing yesterday the idea that he was closing in, that it might be single digits, that they could isolate the opposition after the first vote and then really crank the pressure up, and instead you end up with 20 Republicans voting no, and it is a range here. You look at the top of this list here of the Republicans who voted against Jim Jordan. There's Don Bacon from Nebraska. Don Bacon, that's a blue district Republican. This is the congressional district in Nebraska that actually voted for Joe Biden by 7 points. Biden got an electoral vote out of Nebraska. It was from this district. So just based on the politics of his district, his sort of moderate reputation, politically, that's probably a sensible vote for Don Bacon to be making. But then you've got somebody like Ken Buck you were just talking about, who was on our airwaves, really seems to be dug in here against Jordan, talking about the idea of other Republicans who aren't on this list right now maybe joining in. Buck is not from a blue district. Buck is not what you would typically call a moderate Republican. You see a lot of folks like that. Kay Granger, you were mentioning Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania. He's been pushing for this idea of could McHenry somehow get an expanded, speaker's role for a little bit. And I think what's got to be most concerning for Jordan right now is that a letter has been circulating here in the last few hours. Mario Diaz-Balart from Florida sent a letter to Patrick McHenry that basically said, let's go right back to the floor and let's vote right now. And a number of other Republicans, Carlos Jimenez has joined that call. Kay Granger has now joined that call. Mike Simpson has joined that call. Steve Womack has joined that call. And a Republican who voted for Jordan on the first ballot, Marionette Miller Meeks from Iowa. She just in the last few minutes joined that call. So to that idea that Buck put out on our airwaves that there could have been Jordan yes votes from the first round who flip on a second ballot, there's one from Iowa, Marionette Miller Meeks, who's joining with a group of Republicans who seem to think Jordan's in a weak position and who seem to want to pounce right now. She's joining with them. That can't be a good and encouraging sign for him.
Steve Kornacki with the highest stakes game of whack-a-mole ever played in Washington, D.C. Steve, thank you. And joining me now for some more context on what we're seeing from the House Republican Conference is a former member of the House Republican Conference, Carlos Curbelo from Florida. He's now an NBC News political analyst. So, Carlos, when you look at that list, that big board that Steve just broke down, what surprised you most about this opposition to Jim Jordan today?
Well, Garrett, I think the diversity of that list is really remarkable, and it makes it tougher because if you have a problem with appropriators, you can try and go cut a deal with them. If you have a problem with swing district members, you can maybe make some accommodations. But when you have a problem with members from different factions, from all five families, as House Republicans like to say, it really makes it hard because then you have to start making all sorts of promises, and those promises could hurt Jim Jordan with other members. So, look, I'll tell you that those who are opposed to Jordan were surprised by the total today, the 20. Last night, a lot of them were just hoping to get to double digits. They kind of had a marker. They wanted to get more than 8, which is the number of defections that Kevin McCarthy ultimately had, which got him deposed. They got more than double that number, and they can now make the argument that Jim Jordan is actually a weaker candidate for Speaker than Kevin McCarthy. And yes, there's growing momentum in the House Republican Conference, Garrett, for this idea of leaving Patrick McHenry in place. Patrick McHenry is respected widely in the Congress. He is a leader that has traditionally helped swing district members who are very worried about their prospects for re-election next year. And as some have mentioned, a lot of Democrats feel comfortable working with Patrick McHenry. Doesn't mean they like him, but they feel comfortable working with him. They feel that he can be an honest broker, that he can be trusted in this unique position that he's in. So if Jordan fails again and if his vote tally doesn't grow considerably, I think the odds of McHenry staying in place are going to start growing significant.
McHenry also has made it very clear he doesn't want the job, which may speak well of his judgment in this moment. I want to ask you about the moderates in all of this, particularly those New Yorkers. I mean, it's kind of a tale as old as time that moderates are expected to fold when the spotlight is on them in this way. Did the numbers help kind of stiffen some spines, or do you think if you're the Jordan team, it's those kind of swing district moderates that you're going to be the first people you try to pressure to change their vote?
Well, I think there's a couple factors. Number one, yes, the fact that there's 20, that really helps people hold strong. The fact that it's not just them, that respected Republicans like Kay Granger, Mario Diaz-Balart, I mean, these are senior appropriators. These are not Republican rebels. So the fact that there are names like those, Steve Womack, that gives a lot of these centrist members a lot of comfort. And then, look, Garrett, they know that Jim Jordan is one of the original architects of the chaos that the House is living right now. I served with Jim Jordan. He was always a thorn in the side of leadership. He undermined John Boehner and ultimately started the movement that pushed out John Boehner when Paul Ryan was Speaker of the House. I mean, that relationship was a bit more cordial, but still it was Jordan and his faction that was consistently undermining Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise, the leaders at the time. So these swing district members know what Jim Jordan's DNA is. They don't share a lot of DNA because the types of policies and the approach to governing that swing district members need in order to survive is very different than the style of leadership and the approach that Jim Jordan has displayed over now a long career in the House.
Well, if those swing district members are going to figure out a way to stop him, they may need to do it by 6 o'clock. We're hearing that's when the next vote might happen. Carlos Curbelo, I know you'll be watching it as closely as I will. Thank you for your analysis.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.